It ain't Stanley.
But how do
the
you
other
know,
guy.
though? How do you know? What?
She don't look nothing like him. Where do you see the resemblance at? Because she light-skinned, he lighter than her.
You can't give him 35 years back, but you might well start preparing the most heartfelt apology for him and the child. Ms. Winn's mistake from decades ago seems to have caught up with her just now, but she doesn't even have to pay for anything, as she said she cannot give the man all of those years back. But let's find out if the apology will be for Mr. Williams or another man.
William, from the moment you saw Quenisha Mayberry, you believe that she is your biological daughter, even though the defendant claimed you are not.
Mr. Williams isn't taking no for an answer when it comes to the paternity of the child that he has believed to be his for 35 years. Mr. Williams is side by side with Ms. Mayberry to prove the defendant's claim of them not being father and daughter wrong. The defendant, and Winn, says Mr. Williams is not the biological father of her daughter, as she has never given him a reason to believe he is. Ms. Winn also claims she knows who her child's father is, and the result will prove her right.
Tell me about the moment you realized Quenisha was your daughter.
Well, it was the first time I saw her. You know, she looked like me, fair skin, and I just knew she was my daughter.
Mr. Williams claimed the baby right away after she was born. That's rare, but Mr. Williams says the skin color gave him all the answers he needed, and he felt it deep within that Ms. Winn's daughter is his daughter too. Allowing it to go on for decades is something but okay. Ms. Winn is still standing by her words, saying Mr. Williams is indeed not her child's father.
No, because he light-skinned and she light-skinned, the other guy is dark-skinned, I'm dark-skinned. That don't prove that he's her father.
It sure doesn't.
I know who's her father.
Well, it's
And
different when you got-
it's not Stanley.
Ms. Winn may have created the mess, but she's right about skin color not being enough proof to claim a child. And interestingly, Ms. Winn repeats herself saying, Mr. Williams is not the father, and she knows who her father is. Mr. Williams says Ms. Winn was the one that tried to get her attention, and they messed around for some months. That can surely result in a child, or maybe not in this case.
Do you remember your relationship with Mr. Williams? Can you take me back?
I don't remember.
Wait, what?
I don't remember. I don't remember at all. If he said it happened, it must have happened. I don't remember.
Wait, what? Ms. Winn says she doesn't remember the months she and Mr. Williams were messing around, but she sure remembers trying to get his attention by walking past the store he walked in multiple times a day. Ms. Winn must be really into something here. Ms. Winn agrees to trying to get Mr. Williams' attention, but as she said, that doesn't mean he's the father of her child.
And if Stanley knew he was to feel that he was a father, he could have been did this test. He used to come get her, take over this house. He could have did it then.
Well, if you didn't
you want to
think
wait
I-
35 years to do this now?
Again, Ms. Winn has a point. Mr. Williams could have got this over with decades ago, but he's just doing that now? That's not so understandable, but okay. Mr. Williams also says, why was Ms. Winn so comfortable handing the baby over if he wasn't the father? But Ms. Winn's reason for that is that their families were close, so she had nothing to worry about. That may be true, but that doesn't apply to everyone.
He claimed lost contact at some point. Who did you grow up thinking was your father?
The man that signed my birth certificate, I met him like twice. I don't feel like we have a connection. I definitely don't look like him.
Ms. Mayberry claims she doesn't have any connection with the man her mother told her is her father, but Ms. Winn is skipping that to say she has been a father and a mother to her daughter. Oh well, Ms. Mayberry would still be in search of her father if that's true. And there's also Mr. Williams, who's been claiming the child since forever, but he felt a slight change in energy when Ms. Winn's other partner pushed her down the stairs. Oops, must have hurt.
How did
Take
you
her to
lose
the
touch?
doctor.
I lost touch with them because they moved. And then the last I heard Quenisha, she was staying in Louisiana. And I was just trolling Facebook and social media, and I saw one of her family members.
Mr. Williams couldn't get access to Ms. Mayberry again after they moved, but the man didn't give up on his supposed daughter. Mr. Williams' lick shined as he found out on social media that his potential daughter is around the corner. Surprisingly, Ms. Mayberry talked to one of her family members and found out Mr. Williams could possibly be her father. Now, Ms. Winn's testimony is shaking.
Quenisha, after 20 years, what happened?
Now, the only thing we talked about is just getting a DNA test and, you know, just to make it official. Even me and her mom, we even talking about going half on. That's why I don't know why this sounds foreign to her right now, because we've had this conversation before.
Yeah, right! Who is Ms. Mayberry's daddy then? Since Ms. Winn is so certain Mr. Williams is completely off the list, Mr. Williams doesn't know the reason Ms. Winn is taking it as a joke, because she keeps having a smirk on her face like the Joker. It's time we find out if Mr. Williams' spirit has been right all along, or Ms. Winn knows better for real.
Quenisha Mayberry. Mr. Williams, you are not the father.
No child deserves to be denied by their father, not to mention coming to paternity court to talk about it, but Mr. Little is putting Ms. Degree in that very position in this case. Will the mother be put to blame, or Mr. Little will have to bear the blame for denying his potential child? Let's dig through this case real quick.
Ms. Degree, you say your whole world changed when you were just 9 years old, and your mother revealed to you that your dad was not your biological father.
Ms. Degree's life changed at the tender age of 9 after her mother disclosed who her father was to her, but Mr. Little, who is the father being talked about, claims he knows for a fact that he didn't father Ms. Degree, even though he and her mother messed around a couple of times. Ms. Degree's mother is also in court claiming Mr. Little is the biological father of her daughter.
I believe it was my biological father, who had been in my life since I was younger, wasn't, and she told me that.
Ms. Degree must have felt some type of way, but she still made an attempt to reach out to her supposed father. Isn't her mother supposed to do that? Mr. Little, not knowing anything about him having another child, claimed he told the 11-year-old that he would need a DNA test to confirm their father and daughter status. Yeah, Mr. Little is right about that, but telling a child something like that? That's way out of line.
When I found out she made the call, I wasn't even angry at her. I was more angry at Mr. Little for telling her that he don't think that he's her father. To an 11-year-old, when you could have just told her, I feel like me and your mom should discuss this instead of...
Mr. Little may be looking like he got his life together and all, but he shouldn't have told a child something like that. Ms. Degree's mother claimed she didn't even know her daughter would make the call, as she already went on with her life since Mr. Little denied the child when she was pregnant. Just like Ms. Degree said, Mr. Little, being a grown man in the situation, should have acted more differently than he did.
She was pregnant.
I knew she was pregnant. That's when she told my brother that it wasn't mine. My brother said, is this don't be my nephew or niece? No.
Houdini is such a great reference, but someone's paternity is at stake here. Mr. Little said Ms. Degree's mother told her brother the baby wasn't his before she was born, so that makes Mr. Little's doubt valid. But keeping a calendar from 24 years ago? That's some different kind of bookkeeping.
Months earlier, so therefore you know that wasn't the window of conception.
There you go.
If she was 1 month pregnant in November.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes, what would you like to add?
If you so-called believe, and if my mom said it wasn't yours, why are you searching for me?
While Ms. Degree was about to feel good her potential father was searching for her, Mr. Little cuts in saying it wasn't to create a bold or anything like that. Mr. Little said his checks were getting deducted, which was for child support, and that's the only reason he had to come searching for Ms. Degree.
Adamant that wasn't your child and they were taking money out your check. You should have wanted a blood test.
Hold up, I got that too, baby. I got that too. Hold up, I got evidence right here.
That's a whole lot of arguments going on in that courtroom. Mr. Little says Ms. Degree's mother never showed up for the DNA test after he had to pay for it about 4 times. With Ms. Degree's mother not showing up for the hearing of the case Mr. Little filed for in court, Mr. Little's case got thrown out, and that possibly made him give up on it for a minute.
And that
That's
you
why you
told the first man that you told your daughter was her biological father up until she was 9.
Now this is messy. Mr. Little and Ms. Degree's mother won't stop going at each other until they hear the gavel banging. Mr. Little seems to not want to be responsible for a child that might be for another man, and that's fine, but he's also a potential father, hence the reason for a DNA test.
I would like to say, he said he been searching or whatever like that because the child support, and I'm not saying he is my father, I'm not saying he not, I'm just here to find out.
Ms. Degree is being as level-headed as she can be, and she's even doing better than her parents in this court. While it took Mr. Little decades to find Ms. Degree said it only took her some minutes, so maybe he wasn't searching hard enough. Ms. Degree just wants to know if Mr. Little is her biological father or not, so she can keep it moving. Let's give her what she wants.
Of Ms. Jasmine Degree. Mr. Little, you are her father.
Some women fight tooth and nail to get one man to pay child support for their children, but on the other hand, some women beat all odds and get multiple men to pay child support for just one child. Maybe it's luck or just pure evil. Ms. Duncan will have to give us the answers.
Mr. Green,
Yes, ma'am.
you claim your right as a potential father to the child in question today, 2-year-old Angel Bryant, were basically stolen from you.
Mr. Green had waited for over 5 decades before he could have a child, but the child he has potentially fathered with Ms. Duncan seems to have another potential father. Even though Mr. Green has been a present father physically and financially, he still wants to know if that's his child. Then there's Ms. Duncan, who agrees to sleeping with another man during the window of conception, and to top it all off, Mr. Duncan has been paying child support alongside the other potential father. Ms. Duncan wants to know who the father is too.
How did you meet Miss Duncan?
How did I meet her? Well, it was New Year's night. She was out, I was out, of course. I saw her daggling a little bit, walking home alone from the club.
That was a decent way of meeting and having a relationship, but Ms. Duncan made all of that go to waste as she was still not only talking to her previous partner, she was also having sexual relations with him too. Mr. Green was lied to, and now he's in paternity court to know if he truly fathered Ms. Duncan's child.
What happened when you discovered you were pregnant?
I got sick. I was eating buffalo wings and I was started hurting in my right side real bad. They took me to the emergency room and they told me that I had gallstones.
Oh, Mr. Green is standing on business with him, shaming the devil in court right there and then. That's good, but considering the way Ms. Duncan found out she was pregnant, maybe she is telling the truth about not knowing who exactly the biological father of the child is.
I haven't seen the other guy until after I got out the hospital.
Okay.
Your Honor, I figured that if I'm supposed to be the child's father, I would have been there at the time of birth. And also, my name would be on the birth certificate, Your Honor.
And so that's not the case?
No. And in fact, while she was pregnant, I was informed that she would call me. I said, well, call me when you get ready to have the child.
Mr. Green and Ms. Duncan's story seemed to be a little confusing at this point. The other guy didn't show up at first, but according to Ms. Duncan, he eventually stepped up during her pregnancy and even after. There's Mr. Green that claimed he was expecting a call from Ms. Duncan when she went into labor, which he never got, but the Lord leading Mr. Green. Right? He had a dream that made him know about the birth of the child.
Mr. Green, at what point did you find out there was another man in the picture?
I'm getting to that right now, Your Honor.
Okay.
It was like 6 or 7 months down the road after doing her pregnancy. Then she told me, she said, well, the baby may not be yours.
This looks like a lover's quarrel with more emotions leaving towards the paternity of the child. Mr. Green claimed he was informed about the other potential father 6 or 7 months into the pregnancy, but Ms. Duncan argues she informed him about that earlier than he just mentioned. Ms. Duncan definitely made Mr. Green have paternity doubts by telling him he may not be the father.
My daughter. I said, that's your daughter, that's my daughter. And that's like embarrassing, you know. He was already there waiting for her to come home.
Really? And so you out as a family and then come home and some other man is talking about he's coming to pick up your family.
Mr. Green was hurt that his potential child was being confidently claimed by another man, but Ms. Duncan says she knew nothing about the other man coming over. In the same breath, Ms. Duncan praises the other man, claiming Mr. Green wasn't there for her, but the other man was, and that means something to her.
You know who the dad is. You could have left that birth certificate blank until you get a blood test. Then let it be signed.
Well, I made a mistake.
Everybody make mistakes.
Okay?
Like you playing me, you playing him.
Ms. Duncan agreed that she made a mistake by not leaving the birth certificate blank until she did a DNA test with the 2 potential fathers. However, Ms. Duncan is still of the opinion that Mr. Green was nowhere to be found, while the other man was being a really good shoulder to lean on when she needed someone.
Too attached to the child, I love her, and I can't get all the love that father should give his daughter.
Both Ms. Duncan and Mr. Green are now getting emotional. Mr. Green wants to give his potential daughter all the love he has to give, but he wants to know if he truly fathered her. There's Ms. Duncan that has also accepted making a mistake that now puts her child's paternity in between 2 men. Both men have contributed to the child's growth one way or the other, but only one of them can be the father. Let's find out who that is.
The case of Duncan versus Green. Mr. Ronald Green, you are not her father.
Men can also be blamed for not knowing how to keep their third leg properly, but the large portion of the blame always goes to the woman, because a woman always has to deal with the consequences in the most unbearable way. Men easily walk away from babies and avoid being present, but that's a hard thing for a woman to do, considering she even has to push the child out of her first.
Miss Fisher, you're here to prove that Mr. Stewart is your daughter Kalia's biological father.
Ms. Fisher needs to prove Mr. Stewart is the biological father of her baby to be able to access his family medical records, as her child has a serious medical condition. Mr. Stewart is on the opposite side of the case, claiming he knows he's not the father of the child because Ms. Fisher has been passed around more times than he could count. Mr. Stewart claims Ms. Fisher is just trying to push the baby on him because she knows he's a responsible man.
Who is my daughter's biological father, for the simple fact it's fair for her to know. I don't want her to grow up without knowing. And I also want to be able to know if something goes on wrong with her.
A week after? Well, that may sound like a very short period, but even one-night stands end up in pregnancies sometimes. Mr. Stewart claims they use protection the first few times, but things changed, and that sounds pretty much like a baby could have been made in the middle of all that. Ms. Fisher just wants to prove to Mr. Stewart that he fathered her child.
Woke up one morning, I wasn't feeling well, and I've been pregnant before, so I pretty much knew before I took the test I was pregnant.
And you immediately said, Mr. Stewart, this is your
I
child.
showed it to him, and his first reaction, it ain't mine.
That's what he said?
Yes, that's exactly what he said.
Going over to have unprotected sex because of boredom? Does Mr. Stewart know the concept of sleeping? It doesn't look like it. Ms. Fisher said after she told Mr. Stewart she was pregnant with his baby, and she reacted the way she did, she left him alone, but it didn't seem like Mr. Stewart left her alone anyway.
She showed me the pregnancy test on her phone. I was like, I don't know what you're showing me for, it ain't mine. I wasn't showing it to you for that reason. I was showing it to you because you call yourself messing around with me. When I start getting big, I want you to at least know what's going on. So, you know, okay.
Fed up with his games, but he was at Ms. Fisher's house half a week ago? Ms. Fisher sure doesn't know what fed up means. Mr. Stewart says he wasn't around for the birth or doctor's appointments because he was under the impression that the baby wasn't his. Well, we will find out about that really soon.
Name another potential father as the biological father, and then on top of that, another man signed the birth certificate.
Wait a minute. She named another man as the biological father.
Yes, Sean.
Oh, now there's a better picture of what Mr. Stewart was trying to say earlier, that Ms. Fisher has been passed around. There are two other men in the picture, and that does more harm than good to the case. Mr. Stewart just doesn't want to be dragged in the neighborhood about being a deadbeat father to the little girl.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you intimate with him during the time you were also intimate with Mr. Stewart?
Yes, ma'am.
Was this during the window of conception?
Yes.
Did you use protection with Mr.?
No.
Okay, Mr. Stewart has all the right to have doubts about the child's paternity. Ms. Fisher didn't use protection with Mr. Kern, and it was also within the window of conception. That just sums it all up. Mr. Kern says he's not denying if he's the father or not, but Ms. Fisher doesn't seem to be a trustworthy person considering they have been through this similar situation before.
You taking care of this baby. You think this baby's yours.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
I took a test, and it turned out I wasn't the father when I went to work. You know, I was devastated, I was crushed about it.
So now there is a paternity question as it relates to Kalia.
Mr. Kern went through the same situation before, but he found out he wasn't the father, but he still went ahead to get caught in the same kind of case again. There was no relationship or a committed affair other than listening to songs and getting in the mood? That sounds irresponsible because babies are being made aside from the fact that they could be passing STDs around too.
She has a hole right in the middle of her heart, and she has too much blood going to her lungs. And so in 2 months, they might have to do surgery if the hole doesn't close.
Oh my goodness. Do either of you gentlemen have heart issues?
No, Your Honor.
You don't?
No, Your Honor.
The medical condition of the baby sounds very serious, but Mr. Kern and Mr. Stewart say they don't have any medical condition related to the heart. Mr. Stewart says it's a shame that the baby won't know who her daddy is, but who knows if it's one of these men standing in court. Let's find out.
Case of Fisher versus Stewart. Mr. Stewart, you are not the father.
Some women claim the baby was planned prior to pregnancy, but when the pregnancy eventually comes through, their planning partner is nowhere to be found, and this always leads to many paternity court cases just like this Ms. Simmons case.
Ms. Simmons, you claim that the defendant begged you to have his baby, but then disappeared when you told him you were pregnant. Yeah. So you're here to prove to Mr. Burgess and his fiance that he is your son's father, is that correct?
Ms. Simmons says she and Mr. Burgess had planned to have a baby together, but she soon realized she was all by herself when she got pregnant, and Mr. Burgess acted differently. Mr. Burgess says he's not the father of Ms. Simmons' child, and the DNA test result will prove that in court today.
You are 20 years old. How did you get involved with a man that's almost twice your age?
We was talking online at first, and we was talking on the phone, and he had told me he was single and everything, and then I had came to his house and everything, and the first day I did come to the house, we did have sex on the first day.
Getting involved with Mr. Burgess seems off, but it's not as worse as them having to stop the use of protection because it kept breaking. Mr. Burgess had even denied his fiancée to Ms. Simmons. Mr. Burgess's doubt stems from him being able to get into Ms. Simmons from the very first day they met.
And she came over maybe once or twice.
You a lie.
Started three times probably a week for up to between 2 to 3 months.
No, you a lie.
That's
I was
long.
over there like
Yeah.
almost every day. If I wasn't at school or at work, I was at your house.
Ms. Simmons ruins Mr. Burgess's testimony that claimed they were seeing just 3 times in a week. Ms. Simmons claims they met uncountable times as long as she was not at work or in school. Ms. Simmons believes Mr. Burgess is just trying to salvage what's left of his relationship with his fiancée.
3 is meaning when she came to my house, the first time she ever came to my house, it was within 3 hours of us having sex. You know, that's very quick.
Numbers don't lie, you said.
True.
Okay.
Okay. 1, the time that we actually had unprotected sex.
Mr. Burgess came to court with enough supposed evidence to prove he's not the father of the child. Another reason Mr. Burgess has doubts about being the father of the child is because he saw his cousins touching all over Ms. Simmons and she did nothing to stop it, but Ms. Simmons says it's all a lie. Okay.
And when I spoke on the phone with him, I was crying because I was like, you know, I'm just starting to get into my life. I was going to school, I had a job, and I was like, you know, I ain't ready to be nobody's mother. So he was like, yeah, don't cry.
These folks don't know each other's real names, but they have been going at it unprotected? That's ridiculous. That's enough reason to understand the continuous bickering and telling one another that they are lying.
What are your thoughts? What do you say?
I said, I was like, who baby that is? That for real? I was like, that ain't my baby. I said, we're gonna have to find out.
Mr. Burgess seemed to have left the neighborhood or city after finding out about Ms. Simmons' pregnancy. Ms. Simmons must have been confused since Mr. Burgess claimed he wanted a baby and even reassured her when she first found out that everything was going to be fine.
I knew this girl probably like 2 or 3 months. You know what I'm saying? Me and this girl, me and my fiance, me and her was talking about get back together. She was in Alabama.
Let's make it clear, because you just told me the other day you got a new girlfriend name. So at the end of the day,
Oh, Ms. Simmons says Mr. Burgess' fiancée should have asked her man about what they had going on. Fair point, though. Mr. Burgess's fiancée explained the way she found out about Ms. Simmons, and that's definitely not a good way of finding out your partner is cheating on you.
Denying the child because you don't believe this is your biological child? Are you denying the child to save your relationship with Ms. Arnold?
He trying to save
I'm not worried about that, because me and her don't talk. Whether this child is mine or not, we gonna be
I petitioned this court for the paternity because of the fact that Chris and I kept telling him that this is his child.
Mr. Burgess's fiancée seemed to have accepted the child in case the DNA test result comes back positive, even though she's having a terrible squabble with Ms. Simmons right now. That anger is supposed to be directed at her man, but it is what it is. Let's find out if Ms. Simmons is right that Mr. Burgess is her baby daddy.
Mr. Burgess, you are the father.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Simmons, don't clown.